Welcome to the Ringer Fantasy Football Show. My name is Dan Heifetz, and I'm joined by Danny Kelly and Craig Horlbeck, and we are previewing Week 14 of the NFL season, which kind of sucks. But more importantly, it is the final week of the regular season for fantasy football, which almost saves it because it's kind of a bad week otherwise. So we will get you all our thoughts on these games and fantasy. If you want our start-sit rankings, we have fantasyfootball.theringer.com. We have our start-sit rankings there. We will update those on Sunday morning. I will do a Twitter Q&A on Sunday morning as well. Brutal week, honestly. It's 6 bye weeks, so I know that some people, like, your questions are like Jawan Johnson or Noah Gray at tight end this week. So it is brutal out there. I'm sorry if that's your life. Also, if any of us or any of you had us on our your Spotify Wrapped, please shout us out on Instagram or Twitter or Blue Sky, whatever the hell you do on social media. Like we love seeing that. Thank you so much for sharing that. We'll toss you up on the Instagram story if you tag us. Genuinely, thank you so much. It's really cool that you guys are listening to us, and thank you for spending that much time with us. It is awesome. So, yeah. We usually start this with Game of the Year. No Game of the Year this week. DK, I feel like it's Seahawks, Cardinals, or Vikings, Falcons. Like, no offense, but
Game of the Year is happening tonight, week. Probably. We're recording this on Thursday afternoon, so we're not going to talk about that because we don't know what happens yet. But yeah, I'd say like the Seahawks, Cardinals is the most important from a playoff point of view in terms of playoff leverage. Chargers, Chiefs is fun. Bills, Rams, kind of fun. But there's nothing like really sticking out here.
Chargers Chiefs is fun. Although, it's like if the Chiefs win, I think they already clinched the division. So it's not like.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing that looms over the real NFL this week is like the AFC playoff race is almost over because the Bills clinched the AFC East. So that's the earliest clinch in 15 years. The Chiefs clinched the AFC West. The Texans have a 96% chance to make the playoffs. The Ravens and Steelers each have a 98% chance to make the playoffs. Chargers are at 94%. So that's 6 of the 7 spots. That's 2 teams left for 2 spots. That's the Broncos, who are 8-5, and the Colts, who are 6-7. They're 2 games behind. And so they're on bye, but next week the Broncos play the Colts. So if the Broncos win that game next week, they have a 95% shot. So like literally next week, we could know all 7 AFC playoff teams with 3 weeks left in the season, which I can't remember that ever happening before.
Does that mean there's going to be more teams sitting players for like multiple weeks, do you think? And like resting up guys that are really injured? This is going to suck for the fantasy playoffs.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that wrinkle.
Because it really depends on this Chiefs-Chargers game, because if the Chiefs lock up the 1 seed, which would be funny because it's like the worst Chiefs team we've seen, but they keep winning. So, I mean, half their wins are in the final play. But if the Chiefs lock up the 1 seed, there's not really a difference between 2 and 5 or whatever. You know what I mean? I think teams will want division titles.
It depends on where you're playing and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah.
Or who you're playing.
It does become weird. We're too far out to know all the scenarios. But
the Chiefs haven't already locked up the AFC West, right? They have to win on Sunday to lock that up. They've locked up a playoff berth, though, right?
Yeah, they've locked up. Yeah, you're right. I misspoke. Yeah. They locked up a playoff berth, but we'll see. I mean, so it's strange. Yeah, there's still division titles at play, but it's a weird thing. The NFC, there's a little more, but we'll get into that and we'll get into all the fantasy stuff, the implications, which again, it's brutal out there. 6 teams are on bye. So Godspeed.
There's some gross ass lineups this week. But I'm like, God, this guy's projected to score like 4 points.
It's like crazy to think people have added Sincere McCormick from the Raiders and are like, my season depends on this guy.
It's so gross.
There's a lot of teams out there where your entire bench is on bye.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, it's funny to think that Isaac Guerrero for the Niners is like some huge prize this week. Isaac Guerrero has 42 carries in the entire season in his career. So anyway, I guess we can start with this Falcons-Vikings game just because, I mean, it's Kirk Cousins' revenge coming off the worst game of Kirk Cousins' career. I mean, it's in Minnesota.
Worst, like 3 games.
I know.
He doesn't look good in like 3 weeks.
He leads the league in picks now.
He does. And he looked bad last week. Like, honestly, I actually think this might be the Costanza of the week because I look at this line and it's Vikings giving 2 and I'm like, who's betting the Falcons +2? I'm looking at this game. What about this screams Falcons? Like, I look at this and I see Kirk, he had no arm strength last week. If he's hurt and not letting it on, if he's fully, quote unquote, fully healthy and this is the best he's got, then he's not going to be in the NFL much longer. Because like when he couldn't step into throws, he was bouncing balls to guys. Like it was brutal. Yeah. And then he also did that unbelievable stat. If he didn't hit 36 miles an hour on a throw, which hasn't happened in the 6 years they've been able to track that stat. So I don't know. And there's no pocket mobility with the Achilles injury. So like he doesn't trust himself to escape. Like the first interception he threw was actually because he panicked because but if he had just stepped up in the pocket and moved right, which like 20 other quarterbacks would have done, he would have had like another 3 or 4 seconds to throw the ball, but he just doesn't trust himself to move. So he's playing terribly, frankly. And now you got to go into the Vikings and their defense.
I know. Anytime people are talking about Michael Penix this week a lot, like if you look at like the Google search trends, Michael Penix is going up this week a lot. Anytime that's happening, I think then you're in Costanza's zone here.
Also, he benefits from a lot of typos as well. That Google search that probably helps.
Yeah, fat.
Well, the X is right near the S.
It is. Yeah.
That's true. Especially, if you type with one hand, who knows?
You're right though about this line being weird. I mean, like if I had to guess what the line was, if we were doing guess the lines with Sal, I would have said this was in what they call the Vegas zone, like the 4 or 5 point range. 2 points for Minnesota at home against the Falcons is crazy to me.
But home implies it's an even game or even tilting to the Falcons. I don't understand it because if you look the other side of the ball, the Falcons defense has no pass rush. They're last in the league in sacks. They have 15 sacks in 12 games. If you just look at the last 4 seasons, the only team with less than 15 sacks through 12 games was the Falcons in 2021. Like they have no pass rush whatsoever in Atlanta. And so it's just weird to look at.
I'm seeing right now that the line's moved. It's 5.5 now for the Vikings.
Oh, that makes sense. Oh, yeah.
Which makes total sense.
Okay. So I guess
there you go. Wow. I should do guess the lines.
Shit. Yeah, there you go. Well, it opened it too, which I guess we should have put it down right when it opened because that doesn't make any sense. A bunch of ghosts are screaming at us now that this had happened.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm checking now. FanDuel. And then the other sites, it's up to 6.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Damn,
I guess
we should have gone on that.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
We should have been on that. Should have been on that. It makes more sense that the line moved because I got Rich Rebar at Sharp Football. If you add sacks and turnovers together, the Vikings defense is the most and the Falcons defense is the least. Sacks plus turnovers. So pretty huge disparity there. But yeah, I mean, I know the Kirk stuff. If you're the Falcons, you're probably wondering. I think Bijan Robinson, you play. Drake London, you definitely play.
Yeah.
Darnell Mooney, you probably still do play, although it's more borderline. And then I think Kyle Pitts, honestly, you don't want to go down that way personally. Like he's had 4 games in 4 years that you're probably proud you played him. Right?
God, he's averaging 1 good game a year.
It's so bad.
Like Kyle Pitts in the month of November had 6 catches for 75 yards.
And his playing time is going down like consistently.
So, I don't think
wild.
Like, would you rather play with the season on the line, Kyle Pitts or Noah Gray?
Noah Gray.
I'd rather play Noah Gray.
For sure.
Kyle Pitts or MVS for the flex spot. I don't know.
I mean MVS.
Probably MVS.
Yeah. You're just hoping for one big play.
I know it's dangerous. Watch Kyle Pitts go and be the number 1 tight end this week, but I do think there's something to be said of like, imagine spending your whole offseason thinking about how you depended on Kyle Pitts in week 14. I can't go down that way. So
that's fair.
All right. Glad we single-handedly moved that line. That's the influence of the show. Other early games, honestly, it's a lot of good versus bad games in that early one. Panthers are at the Eagles, which just feels like a real life comes at you fast for Bryce Young. Like it's been a nice month of like, hey, Bryce is playing well. And this is like a giant reality check for Bryce versus the Eagles defense. So
yeah,
maybe they should just throw Dalton back in for this game.
I was going to say, maybe does Bryce get an offender bender this week and hurt his wrist for 1 week, and then maybe see how we're doing next week.
Probably.
This is tough. The Eagles defense is playing out of its mind right now. The offense is obviously really, really good. The Panthers, there's been like some good vibes, but they're still not a good team.
I think Chuba's been good enough that like you, despite the fumble, you have to play Chuba if you have him. But like it's a tough game for any other Panther. I will say also. Saquon, first of all, I saw this crazy stat from Hayden Winks. If you have Saquon in a league, your odds of being in first or second are 50%.
Really?
It's like McCaffrey last year.
Yes, it is like McCaffrey last year. And ironically, a lot of people had McCaffrey didn't necessarily win because he had like 9 points in the championship round. But Saquon was the pick this year where just having him half your chance to get a first round bye, which is crazy. I also kind of think Saquon might have like 200 yards rushing in this game because the Panthers run defense sucks. Saquon has 1,500 rushing yards. Kind of think he has 80 by halftime, and the Eagles, I wonder if the Eagles want to get him the MVP, or like at least the Eagles think just they could get him MVP.
He could have 100 plus in the second half.
Heifetz, you've been teasing that you have this rant about the MVP coming, and I'm ready for it right now.
I do. So the FanDuel odds right now, Josh Allen is the favorite for the MVP. Saquon's in second at 4-1. Lamar Jackson's almost 9-1. Saquon's 5-1. So like, doesn't that surprise you off the bat that Saquon would be almost like betting like almost twice as likely to win MVP basically per these betting on? Doesn't that surprise you guys or no?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess with Lamar, yes. With everybody else, no. I think he probably should be third.
Here's my thing with MVP. So
it's a silly award.
It's not a silly award.
It is.
The NFL, it is, well, actually, fine. Yes, it has become a silly award because the NFL does not have enough awards. So the NFL,
not specific enough.
It's not. No, that's the thing. So the NFL, they should have a model like college football, where college football has an award for the Heisman, which is basically MVP, most outstanding player. They also have the best quarterback, the best running back, the best receiver, the best tight end, the best offensive lineman, the best defensive lineman. They have the best at every position. It goes on and on and on. And they have the Heisman. And freshmen and all this stuff. And senior.
And they've got cool names for all the awards.
And they have cool names for them. They named them.
Yeah.
The NFL does not do this. So I wanted to just go back to last season. Right around this time, we were talking about, is Brock Purdy the MVP of the NFL? And you had all these Niners fans yelling that Brock Purdy should be considered. But this is where I think the MVP, and it's hard to argue and you get lost in the noise. But if we had more awards, last year, Christian McCaffrey would have won the award. Let's call it the Jim Brown Award for the best running back in the NFL. Trent Williams, the left tackle of the Niners, would have won, call it the award for the best offensive lineman.
The Walter Jones left tackle award.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the Bengals guy. Who's the Bengals lineman? Anthony Munoz. The Anthony Munoz best offensive lineman award goes to Trent Williams. And we should also have an award called the most valuable unit. Last year, the Niners pass catchers would have won that. Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Kittle, Juszczyk, and McCaffrey. That should be a unit that wins an award. So if we had more awards,
the big unit.
I know, but that should be a thing. But the Legion of Boom should have won that 3 years in a row. But if we had more awards and McCaffrey won the most valuable running back and the most valuable unit went to the Niners pass catchers and the best offensive lineman went to Trent Williams, would Niners fans have been and on top of all that, Brock Purdy's the single most valuable player in the entire league? I don't even think Niners fans would have argued
fans
that.
Are crazy. You can't. You can never guess.
But
what
no
fans
one would have been we'll give you all these awards and that. And so I think what happens with the MVP is because we have none of that. You end up arguing about the rainbow with 2 colors. You're having a black and white conversation about yes, you win or no, you don't, about an entire team's performance. And so what you end up with is an MVP award where it just goes to a really good quarterback on a team that earned a bye. Right. Every single MVP since 2007, except for Adrian Peterson hitting 2,000 yards, is just a quarterback on a team that earned a first-round bye. Because we're just arguing about colors of the rainbow, and we don't have words for all these colors.
Well,
of the
there
rainbow.
is Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Which I don't even know what that means.
It's you know what it means? Is it goes to the non-quarterback who had the best season.
Yes.
But do quarterbacks win it, don't they?
Yes, but no, but you're onto something. MVP is the simplest award. If you break a record, you get it. Drew Brees would win it because the Saints, at the time, he was throwing for 5,000 yards, but the Saints weren't good. And you never can win MVP if you don't have 12, 13, or 14 wins. So Brees would be on these 10 or 11 win Saints teams breaking Dan Marino records. So they had to give him something, but he doesn't get to be MVP. So you're Offensive Player of the Year. If you are a great running back or receiver, you get Offensive Player of the Year. You can't be MVP. So anyway, I don't think Saquon's the MVP because he's the same player he was last year.
Of course he's not the MVP.
I know. It's insane. It's the same team last year.
2 years ago, this team went to the Super Bowl without him, with Miles Sanders, and it was just fine.
I know.
If you put Chuba Hubbard on this team, maybe they're a win and a half worse. I don't want to discredit anything Saquon's doing, but the way football is designed as a sport, it is fucking impossible to not give the MVP to the best quarterback on the best team. You can nitpick a little bit whether it's is Mahomes doing more for his team versus how much Josh Allen is doing for his team or Lamar or whatnot, but I actually agree that with the way the MVP is designed, literally most valuable player, it almost should never be a running back or a wide receiver.
No.
It should always be a quarterback. But to your point, Heifetz, right. Maybe that means there should be other awards. I guess I just don't know if there's a best running back award, the Jim Brown Award. I don't know how many Eagles fans are well, Saquon's going to win the Jim Brown Award, so fuck MVP. I kind of still think they would want him to win MVP. I don't know if him winning a useless, who was the best running back, who had the most rushing yards in the league, so we'll just give you a plaque for it.
But they'd be arguing
really scratches the itch.
But they'd be arguing that our line should also be the best line award over the Lions. And I think that's where you kind of get to like you know what I mean? That's where you get a little more
You can
colors in the
compile
rainbow.
the most awards outside of MVP. It's like we have the best offensive line award. We have the best running back award. We have the best,
And it just makes sense. If you have the best running back and the best line, then the running back's not the most valuable player in the fucking world. Like, you know what I mean? I think that's like, I think it starts to scratch the itch. Maybe I'm wrong, but I know people are rational. We don't have to satisfy everybody. But I do think, and Bill, this is a Bill Simmons idea. It should be a belt. Like that. It should be a Stanley Cup belt where there's only one and you put everyone's name in it. And the whole thing is to get your name etched on it so that like Jerry Rice, competitive crazy person, could have had his name 11 times in a row. But like, and you should have to give it back when you're done with it.
What happens when the belt fills up?
Well, it's like the Stanley Cup. They like secretly kind of swap out panels.
They screw on new panels.
Yeah. Or it's a belt. You keep adding tiles to the end.
Yeah.
Gold
like, like how when you put on your little sticker on the back of your license plate every year when you're doing your registration.
And it's just like an inch thick.
2 inches thick because I've been doing it for 10 years on the same car.
You're like, who's Steve Allworth?
Also, I feel like every year it gets earlier and earlier with like, I'm putting like the 2029 one on my car right now. It's ridiculous. I'm getting a ticket because I don't have 2027 on my fucking car.
Anyway, there's my rant.
I think I'm the only person at this company that just doesn't give a shit about the MVP award. I just like don't really care that much. I don't have any desire to expend energy thinking about the MVP
care about
award.
it. I think it's the way that people look back on history and judge how things went. I feel the same way about the Oscars, which I know a lot of people think is stupid, but I love looking back at lists and the way history was categorized. I think it's important.
But DK, you don't care about the race while it's happening, but once it's awarded, it means a great deal to you, doesn't it?
Yeah, right?
Yes, I think that's a good way of explaining it. It's like, I don't think it's meaningless. I just don't like having arguments about
I fucking love it.
Like who just hates
the
arguing,
MVP.
Though.
I think
That's
it's
true.
like, well, I just think it's basically the whole reason of everything Heifetz just said boiled down to like the irony of like the MVP going to
it's a team award.
The quarterback on the best team. Like it's ironic because it's the best team. It's not like, it's not the best player. It's the guy who's leading the best team. That's who's going to win the MVP award, which I guess like, that's fine. In retrospect, if you look back, you're like, this guy won the MVP in this year and that year was like all about him. Like I get that, but I just think arguing over I guess when you're just trying to argue over like the semantics of it and everything, I'm just like, I don't care. I don't want to have this. I just don't care.
It's what keeps us all alive, DK. It's what distracts us from our everyday lives. Arguing whether or not Patrick Mahomes should be ahead of Goff in the MVP rankings is important.
Well, DK just hates arguing. Fair. I do think part of it too is it's funny. It's like we spent all this argument, but all this energy on it. But the history of these awards are so simple. Defensive Player of the Year is whoever led the league in sacks and or like basically quarterback pressures. Every year for the last like 12 years. And then if you don't get to 17, they give it to someone else. So like, it's like, oh, you didn't 17 one year, or it's like a weird person on a bad team. Oh, you have to do you have to hit 18 sacks and be in a good defense that made the playoffs. And then the one year that didn't happen, it was like Chandler Jones at 17. We'll give it to Stephon Gilmore. Fine. We'll give it to a fucking cornerback for once. But like,
it'd be cool if the MVP was like the Oscars, where it was never like the best movie or like that, the actor in the movie that made the most money. If it was, it'd be like, Justin Herbert would win because he's kind of like an indie quarterback who everybody really respects.
That's what's weird about the MVP. I know we're just talking about this forever, and this was not my intention to talk about this long, but like that is what's weird to me about the award, is that I really think the reason the award goes to is that football is still such a magical mystery to so many people that if a team wins the game, that's good for the quarterback. And so if you have 15-2 as your final record, that's 15 Mondays we were like, good job. And 2 Mondays we were like, bad job. So that person has the most positivity and they get the votes. And so
you're losing me. You're losing me a little bit.
I think what I'm saying is that like,
so you think Joe Burrow should have an equal opportunity to win this year compared to like Josh Allen?
Yes. Yes. Like, it's crazy that Joe Burrow will not even be considered when it's like, who has been playing better than Joe Burrow this year? I didn't even think he'd be good. Joe Burrow's been incredible.
Yeah, but then you're like, okay, but the word is value. He's clearly not valuable enough to make them win games.
I know,
they have 4 wins. I understand he's playing really well,
it's
but
valuable for my fantasy
point, team. A little bit of like the stuff that's out of your control has to matter a little bit.
Fair.
Your team has to be good.
But if they had made the playoffs, which should Joe Burrow, like if Joe Burrow dragged in the playoffs, would that
then I think he'd be in the discussion.
Here's the question. But that's the interesting part.
If they were 7-5 right now, I think he'd be top 5.
Yes, but that's what intrigues me. A quarterback who got his team to the playoffs without getting the bye has not won the award in like 20 years. It's only the guys with the bye, and we're just like, we have to be in the best team in the conference.
Don't you think, though, Burrow's an outlier this year. There's not many guys having Burrow-like seasons who are a wild card team. Like, I feel like it usually works out where the quarterback who deserves it is often the quarterback who's on the best team getting a bye.
Usually, I know I'm not trying to cherry pick through any of these seasons to say this person didn't deserve it or this person didn't. I just think it's funny that like it's just the flattest award we have. That's all.
Yeah.
Anyway, I could see DK checking out and probably everyone else too.
That was fun. That was more fun than talking about Panthers Eagles.
Yeah, that game sucks. But anyway, all that's to say, I love Saquon. I hate that he's doing so well. He's not the MVP, and it's not because I'm a hater. It's just ridiculous. He's not the MVP.
He's absolutely not the MVP.
No.
Yeah. He's an important player on a good team, though.
Also, to Craig's point,
it's fun to watch.
They had the same record this time last year, and also to Craig's point, they made Miles Sanders was Saquon's backup at Penn State, and he also made the Super Bowl with the Eagles. So
Kenneth Gainwell, Miles Sanders, and come on,
yeah, okay, he's been good. That's all.
He's been amazing. Good is an understatement. He's been incredible.
Yes, best running back in the NFL. Next game, Browns are at the Pittsburgh Steelers. 3-9 Browns versus the 9-3 Steelers. Steelers are giving a touchdown.
Craig, how worried are you? Pucker factor.
The pucker factor is honestly low. I just need the Lord to deliver Jameis one more pick six.
Dude, that was a wild. Wait, explain that.
In the post-game presser, Jameis was like, "I know I'm better than this. I know I am." He was like, "What is?" He said,
"I know this isn't me with the pick sixes." Which who's going to tell him?
He said the Lord needs to stop delivering him pick sixes? Or no, the Lord
deliver
me from
deliver
pick
him
sixes.
from the pick sixes.
Deliver me from the pick sixes.
In the way like to free him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Deliver me from these pick sixes is great.
Do you think that like God is going through like, his like prayer email and like looking at what everyone's asking
like
for?
Bruce Almighty?
Like Bruce Almighty's looking at all the things people are asking for, and like Jameis is just in there for like the 1000th time. Like, no, really, please deliver.
Like, why are you testing me so much?
I just picture God like checking his Twitter feed later for like all the requests and stuff. He's like, oh God, this guy again. I'm gonna mute him. He's got a
Snapchat streak. He's prayed for it every day for like 10 years.
He's like, this guy's hilarious. I love watching him play.
I went to get groceries and I've got like 5 requests from this guy.
Jameis did have the craziest Jameis. He had the most Jameis game of all time. He had almost 600 yards total of yards thrown to NFL players, 400, almost 500 of which to his team.
Pretty good, honestly.
There was over
500 of 600 to your team is not bad.
497. He had more. I think 130 interception return yards, which is more than like Deshaun Watson passed for to his own team on the Browns versus Washington.
Dude, yes. Last week in one of my leagues, I went into the week down like 20-something points. And I won because Denver's defense.
That was crazy. Yeah. And they
almost like, holy shit.
Broncos won 41-32. And then they almost scored another pick six at the end. They tried to score pick six as time expired. And then Jeudy tackled him. Jerry Jeudy also having 230 something yards in this game against the Broncos. Where it's like, I feel like he tried harder in this game than I've ever seen, but I couldn't believe
that's probably true. Revenge game.
I know. I couldn't believe the stat from Pat Doherty, who tweeted out that Jerry Jeudy leads the NFL in receiving yards in the 6 weeks since Jameis Winston took over as the starter, even though the Browns had their bye during those 6 weeks.
Dude, wow. I think one of the craziest stats of the season is that right now, Jerry Jeudy is 4th in the NFL in receiving yards.
That's crazy.
4th.
This is just another example in my mind of like, why situation matters for so many, obviously for quarterback, it's like the biggest deal, but like for receivers too, they're so dependent on like the scheme that they're playing in, the coach that they're playing with, like the style that they want to play, the quarterback, most important in that. And I think that's especially true for like tight ends. Like, I don't care how good you are. Like if you're like, obviously if you're Jamar Chase or someone like one of these top level guys, you're going to probably produce anywhere, but it's such a strong reminder to me that's like, if Jerry Jeudy had landed with a team with some other quarterback, like he might be a superstar right now. And he's doing this with Jameis Winston. It doesn't seem fluky. He's wide open.
I think he has maturity issues and he locked in knowing he'd get the most targets he's had since college. But I will say this, DK, remember a couple weeks ago, which a lot of people like this, that we were talking about superstition and I'm very superstitious as a fan. And you're like, basically like, wow, that's really pathetic.
No, not pathetic. I just don't do it.
So, but you don't believe in superstition, right? Like you don't think I have any outcome on the universe.
You're like an atheist of fandom.
100%.
So you think it's unrelated in the entire universe that since I started deciding that, like, actually I hate Jerry Jeudy. He's like the Derek Carr of receivers. I hate Jerry Jeudy more than any receiver in the world. He has since become the number 1 receiver in fantasy since I started saying that. That's unrelated. Because it started happening. As soon as I just planted my flag that I hate this guy, he's become
I think maybe Bruce Almighty
the
saw that one email and was like,
He's like, ooh.
This is, okay, this thing, if you go back even like to the Mike Davis, the Josh Jacobs, the Jerry Jeudy.
Kind of plugged in here.
This is actually the most like compelling argument for religion for me that I've had in my life. So I'm open to it. I'm an agnostic, not an atheist.
We should really, in like August, we should do like the Heifetz power ranking of players he hates episode, and I'll just draft all those guys.
Yeah, and that's our rankings. Those are
seriously.
our rankings. That's our league winners episode.
I think maybe it's more just you have a knack for timing these types of things. I don't know why. You just do have a knack. I believe in knacks. I don't believe in superstition.
Life is timing, baby. Since Jameis took over, Jerry Jeudy is the wide receiver 2 in fantasy and points per game. David Njoku is the tight end 3 in points per game among tight ends. So that's insane.
I just can't believe that Jerry Jeudy played half the season with nobody throwing to him, and now he's literally 4th in the NFL in receiving yards.
That's crazy. So yeah, but having said that, Jameis versus Steelers, I think the Steelers defense is going to win a lot of people fantasy matchups this week.
I think this game is also going to be personal to them. They don't want to lose twice. That like iconic snow game that they lost, and Jameis getting all the hype on that touchdown in the 4th. Like I think the Steelers are going to really want to win this game. Also, it works out really nicely for them, even just from a matchup standpoint. The Browns quietly blow a lot of big plays and have given up a ton of big plays this year. And the Steelers with Russ are number 1 in the league in 20+ yard plays, which is kind of incredible and not what you think of when you think of the Steelers. But they're averaging almost 6 plays at 20 yards or more per game. I also think the total in this game is like pretty low. It's 43.5. Steelers and
that's interesting. Yeah.
Jameis and Russ games separately are averaging 51 points per game. And now they're playing each other.
Is the weather weird or something?
I don't think it's supposed to be bad.
Not that that made a difference last time. What was the score for the last game in the snow?
Oh, in the 20s, right? It's supposed to be 46 and cloudy. I mean, that's fine.
It was 24-19. Browns won Thursday Night Football in the snow game.
43 is low to me for this game.
Next game here, we have the Pirate Bowl. We have the Raiders 2-10 are at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 6-6. So Bucs are giving a touchdown.
I'm telling you, dude, we need the toilet bowl in the NFL. Like, get all these teams, have them play each other. I can't be watching.
It's really
Panthers,
not a
Eagles.
bad idea. If the NBA can do, I keep thinking like if the NBA can have an NBA Cup and the MLB can add pitch clock, there's something here. They're not going to mess with it, but there is something where like the bad teams compete for the number 1 pick. I'm not going to look. Brock Bowers is awesome. We've talked about him all week, but Brock Bowers is electric, leads the league in catches, which I can't believe is a rookie tight end. We've talked about him.
Good.
The one thing I'll say about this game, I don't know if maybe this is my first old man moment. The first thing I thought when I saw these teams was Raiders Broncos was 20 years ago. These teams played in the Super Bowl, and John Gruden was the head coach of, I don't know how many Gen Z kids Kai's age know this, but John Gruden was the coach of the Raiders, and the Raiders traded him to Tampa Bay for 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks and $8 million in cash. And then John Gruden, 11 months later, 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and $8 million. And then 11 months after they traded him, John Gruden with the Bucs met the Raiders in the Super Bowl and beat them.
Is that the most a coach has ever been traded for?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
That's
more than Belichick.
Like exorbitant amount.
Peyton. Isn't it crazy? Like, that like never gets discussed. Never discussed. I can't remember the last time I saw anyone talking about that. One of the craziest things in the history of the league. Like a coach beat the team in the Super Bowl that traded him away like 11 months earlier, and it never gets brought up.
Do you think that is Apex Mountain for revenge games?
It's very high on the list. I'm sure there's some, I don't know. I'm sure there's some.
I mean, getting traded and meeting that team in the Super Bowl as a coach is pretty specific.
Yeah. It's
not just winning
insane.
the Super Bowl and being like, fuck you to the Raiders. Him playing them is crazy.
Yeah. Imagine if Brady had played the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. That would be,
we'd be talking
that'd
about.
honestly probably take the cake if that happened.
So anyway, that's my first old man corner is I can't believe that had happened.
Well, do you guys remember where you were when this game was happening?
I was in 2nd grade.
The only reason I ask is because I watched this game. I was like doing a study abroad thing. I watched it in Barcelona at like.
Was there a Ronde Barber
midnight.
pick 6?
Dexter Jackson.
Oh.
The Gruden Bowl.
I have vague memories of that, maybe.
Do you guys know who did the Dixie Chicks did the national anthem?
I think Dexter Jackson's Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah.
And then
who did the Super Bowl halftime show? Sorry.
Dixie Chicks.
You said national anthem.
Oh, who did the halftime show? Oh, Shania Twain. No doubt.
Wow.
What? Look at this combination. Shania Twain, No Doubt, and Sting.
They all performed?
That's what it says.
Was that the year before or a year after Janet Jackson?
Oh, good question.
Janet Jackson wasn't 01, was it? I feel like it was later.
It was the Janet Jackson thing was 2003, 2004 season.
Yeah.
That was the next year.
That I remember because I was like a child, and my mom had gone down to the basement to get something.
He's like, I didn't know boobs existed.
No, I didn't, and it happened while my mom was out of the room. But it was like pre-internet, so like my mom didn't know it had happened, and so she found out the next day and was like, "Did you see anything?" And I was
it's funny to think back that people cared about this.
Well, it's funny because if it happened now, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, I know, dude. Nothing can happen now, and people will be like upset about it.
No, I mean, like two people could have sex on stage, and they'd be like, "Well,
like, oh, full penetration. Look at that."
Like, we need to see a lot these days to get out of bed. Like, you know what I mean? We are so
like
fucking
getting out of bed for a
desensitized.
fucany nipple.
Dude,
Jesus,
give me
who
a break.
cares?
You know how many
we all
of those
got them.
Hop on Twitter. You see him every fucking day. Whatever Elon's doing.
All my mentions. Like, what the hell are these people doing?
There's some diabolical, depraved shit going on in the comments on Twitter. Like, you can see a lot. I feel bad for
Twitter's the worst place ever.
People raising children now, man, it's got to be so hard on the internet. I do not know how you navigate that minefield.
Should we have the Twitter conversation? Not the Twitter conversation, but should I talk about the worst tweet I saw all year or no? Should we just move on?
I don't know what you're talking about. The worst tweet?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll do it, and we can cut this if it's too dark.
Okay.
I realized that Twitter was irreparably broken. And like, there's like a lot of dissent that it took me to get here. But the worst tweet I've ever seen was there was a mayor, a politician in Mexico had been beheaded by a drug cartel. And it was like a story about this politician that had been beheaded. Like that day, it was breaking news. And the top reply under it was a porn star saying, "My head's better."
Jesus.
That was the number one. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with this app. I'm done.
Jerry Seinfeld.
And you know what sucks about that is that comment probably got 100,000 likes.
Yes. It's such a terrible place. What have we done? I don't know. I feel like we did this whole thing in 2020, but it's gotten worse.
We deserve it. 100%. Yeah.
Anyway. Should we keep that or no?
Anyway, can you remember?
I like it. I think that's fun.
Let's go back to the times where
that's a real thing.
People see that shit every day.
Dude, I think about Bo Burnham. DK, I know you haven't watched it, but the best piece of my favorite, and I think Craig, it's high for you too.
Burnham.
My favorite piece of culture from 2020 was Bo Burnham's Inside, and he has the song "Welcome to the Internet."
Oh,
where
it's the
he
best.
Talks the song's about how crazy scrolling is, where it's like, oh, here's a recipe from Tasty Made for banana bread. Oh, that guy got beheaded.
And then it's like you should kill your mom.
Yeah, it's just like here's how to make a bomb. It's like what the scrolling. If you just the topics next to it, it's
intrusive thoughts. Scrolling.
Yeah. It's insane.
It's like the internet is feeding you intrusive thoughts.
It's a crazy, you ever sometimes just read the topics of what each post is about out loud as you go, and you're like, what the fuck am I doing with my time? Anyway,
Saints, Giants.
Yeah.
4.5 points. The Saints are laying, feels high.
Do you guys remember when we had the argument of who would win? Which team mascots would win in a fight, and we were like talking about Giants and Saints. The Saints would kick your ass. They got the power of God coming down.
Saints would come in first or last, nothing in between.
Yeah.
Guess depends on your domination.
I feel like maybe we should have organized today's games by the amount of fantasy players in each game that you would play this week.
Oh, that would have been a good idea.
I'm like, Saints, Giants, you're playing Kamara. Is that it? Are you playing one
No, you're
player
playing
in this game?
Neighbors. He's getting a dozen targets. So
okay,
I'm playing Neighbors.
So 2.
Tyrone Tracy.
He's like, probably playing him, but he's borderline.
Dude, I think some people might have to play Jawan Johnson because the teams on bye this week are like, you have Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews, and you have Dalton Schultz, who would Hunter Henry, and Zach Ertz, which are like all the fringe tight ends where people don't have replacements. So
I was looking up
brutal,
the stats. Since Derek Carr came back from his injury, I've been like thinking to myself, like, oh, their offense is actually working really well. We've been joking about like MVS scoring these big touchdowns. Obviously, we were enthralled with the Taysom Hill thing before he got hurt. But Derek Carr, since he came back from injury, has been playing weirdly efficient.
Stop.
He has been.
We did this last year.
I'm pointing out the stats. I'm not saying he's good. I'm just saying I'm reading some stats.
Isn't there a stat last year of Derek Carr led the league in 300-yard passing games with CJ Stroud?
Yes,
yeah, that was like Bill's whole thing on his show
Yes.
was that I will not accept my kids coming to me and telling me about the 300 yards. But
he's fifth in passer rating. He has 6 touchdowns, no picks. 11th in EPA per dropback.
Well, wait,
the Giants are 27th on defense and DVOA.
DK, I have an important question for you. Your editor, Riley McAtee, who's out on paternity leave, has made fun of me for the entire time since the Daniel Jones contract that the Giants would have been better off just paying Derek Carr the same amount of money because the contracts were somewhat similar. And I think Carr might have been a little cheaper. Would the Giants be in a significant, if it's like tomato, but like, would the Giants have actually been better off just paying Derek Carr?
No.
I don't think
thank
so.
God.
I don't think significantly better.
You'd be like a win or two better, maybe.
It wouldn't have mattered, right?
No.
Right.
If anything, you'd have a worse pick every year because of him and be stuck in more purgatory.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
God, this team sucks.
Maybe it would be better that you wouldn't have had quite as good of a chance at getting Jaden Daniels late in the year. And so your hopes never would have gotten up.
Bill put in my head, this is sneakily the game the Giants are going to win and script their draft stock. I can't get it out of my head.
Ooh, I could see that.
Because the Giants, like last week, the Patriots won. The Patriots should have won and they lost. The Panthers should have won and they lost. The Jaguars almost won and they lost. And the Raiders should have won and they lost. And so all those teams could have like messed up their draft stock and didn't in the same weekend, which was crushing. So anyway.
I'm so excited for the draft show this year with the Giants potentially having the first crack at quarterback, because even if the Jags are the first pick, they're probably not going to take a quarterback. So I'm very excited for this offseason.
Yeah, we're gonna get to DK's mock draft next week.
I'm very curious
Wednesday.
if we'll have a consensus feeling on how we like these quarterbacks. I have a strong feeling that we will not.
Check out DK's mock draft at theringer.com, baby. It's just redesigned. It's fantastic. Check out theringer.com, DK's mock draft, and we'll talk about that one next Wednesday. All right. Next game here. Speaking of which, the Jaguars are playing the Titans.
How many fantasy players you playing in this game?
Dude.
You're playing Tony Pollard?
Yes. Yeah. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine.
Yeah, obviously, Westbrook-Ikhine.
Can't sit him now.
8 touchdowns on 20 catches.
You're
Brian Thomas?
Yeah.
Even with Mac Jones, though, it's like, Brian Thomas is good, and I have no problem if you play him. But like, if Brian Thomas does nothing, you're not going to be like, "What the fuck?" You're going to be like, "Oh yeah, it's Trevor Lawrence is on injured reserve now because of the hit." Also, the guy who hit Trevor Lawrence is suspended for 3 games. So, and then posted the photo of the Joker.
Yeah, you should plug your article, Heifetz.
Oh yeah, I wrote it. So he literally posted a photo of the Joker, and basically was like, "Fuck you." But I wrote a whole story on The Ringer about why NFL players are obsessed with the Joker. And it's my favorite thing I've ever written. So if you just Google like Heifetz, The Ringer, the Joker, like it'll come up.
Can you give us the Spark Notes so we don't have to read it?
Yeah. Okay. The reason I wanted to write it was because I was
pitch it to us. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's spark this here.
Pitch me the beginning, middle, and end of it.
You know when players do something crazy on the field? You're a Warriors fan, of course you do. When Draymond Green does something and he's like, "That's not who I am," though. You know what I mean? They say that. You hear that all the time. So I became obsessed with like, okay, so who are you when you're playing? If that's not you, then who are you? And I became obsessed with how players kind of inhabit characters when they go on the field. Like Ray Lewis would become Maximus from Gladiator or Commodus, whatever. Like they become characters. So I started to track the characters players say they become. And after like 12, I was like, these are all just Batman or the Joker. Like I didn't get other movies. I got 9 different players that like channeled the Joker on the field. And eventually I was like, oh, the story's just about this movie. And so I just wrote about the Dark Knight and all these guys who have Joker tattoos. George Kittle got a Joker tattoo, but like the day before his wedding. Deshaun Elliott has like 5 Joker tattoos. A lot of Jamie Collins on the Patriots, like he has like a giant Joker tattoo. So I don't know. That just blew my mind. But
was Ray Lewis? You didn't mean Commodus. He was Commodus?
No, not Commodus. Sorry, Commodus is the bad guy,
Maximus,
the Emperor.
right?
Maximus, yeah.
Commodus is Joaquin Phoenix.
Different
No,
vibe.
So I confused my Roman names. No, definitely not Commodus. But no, that he literally has talked about this, but it was like his way of basically he was so hated after that whole thing happened with him in Atlanta after the Super Bowl with, that whole incident that basically was so reviled that he had to find a way to like
like
get over the fact that he was like a public villain, and he decided that like
you have to assume a persona almost.
Yes, and so that's where he got his tunnel thing of coming out of the tunnel. It was born out of the like chaos of like Derek Zoolander looking in the puddle like, who am I? And it was like, I'll be this character. That's the same thing with Kobie and the Black Mamba. Like that was like him watching the movie. Oh God, what's the Tarantino movie? Samurai. Kill Bill.
Kill Bill.
And that was Kobie post the Colorado thing where he like needed a character because he was so reviled. And like you created this like persona that you become. It's interesting. Anyway,
right.
I feel like these are the two most tangents I've ever had on the Friday episode right now.
I'm just happy I skipped an article read today. That's nice. I'm kidding. Come on.
Dick.
I'm kidding. I'm joking. I actually have read that.
TheRinger.com, great website. All new designed. Jets are, you got to make up for Craig. The Jets are at the Dolphins. God, I mean, you know what's crazy? The Dolphins are 5-7. They're the second team out of the playoffs right now.
They still got a shot.
Yeah, like they're the 5-7. They're the after the Colts, the next team that like they're like the bubble team. So they actually do need to keep winning.
Carlos is Carlos wearing his jersey today,
or did he give up?
It's over.
Okay,
noted.
Well,
do you guys think?
Go.
So we all saw this Rodgers trailer, this documentary about Aaron Rodgers coming out on Netflix in a couple weeks. You guys saw the trailer, right?
Yeah.
I kind of feel like the next two games, the Jets play the Dolphins and the Jags. I feel like Aaron Rodgers wants to win those two games so bad just to validate this documentary being watched. Because if the Jets are 3-11, when this documentary comes out about his journey to coming back to greatness and how it all comes back to this season and who he is as a person is coming to a peak right now. This has turned into an SNL parody overnight when this trailer came out because this team is 3-9. This is like the worst possible outcome that they could have imagined for this documentary. I don't know why it didn't come out in August. Put this out in August.
Well, I think they were following the season because they expected to win. Craig,
that's a huge miss.
This is a good take, though. This is a good take, Craig. You know why? Because
he wants to win for the documentary more than he wants to win for his football team.
Exactly. Like before, he was just playing for the team, but now he's playing for something more important than the team.
His own vanity.
Himself, yeah.
It's a battle, introvert versus extrovert, you know? But like, I think in Rodgers' head, he's like, we win 2 in a row, 5-7. That like people will watch the doc. We collapse and lose to the Jags and we're 3-11.
I still can't get over the fact that like, I know this isn't confirmed, but I keep thinking about how he wouldn't go to the mandatory minicamp. And I mandatory minicamp because he was like, I can't move my Egypt tripped. Egypt tripped. I keep saying that wrong.
Tripped.
Egypt tripped.
You keep saying Egypt tripped.
Yeah, I know.
Egypt trip.
The T at the end of Egypt.
That's hard. I get that.
What's that?
Egypt trip.
There's got to be
trip.
a linguistic word for that.
Whatever.
Transference.
Anyway, that dude literally just did the Netflix doc over all the practice that he missed.
Probably. I don't think that they actually had sold it to Netflix at that time. So I don't know if Netflix was actually involved with that. I don't know if they had acquired it yet. But perhaps he was just whoever he was filming it with.
Yeah, they're filming it then, though.
Yeah.
While we're on this subject, I do just have to note that Shailene Woodley, who was engaged to Rodgers for some time,
sure,
did an interview with Outside Online.
Mm-hmm.
And she was talking about the period where she was engaged to Aaron Rodgers. And I quote, "I felt like I lost my soul, myself, my happiness, my joy." End quote.
Ugh. It's not what you want to hear if you're Aaron Rodgers.
Jets fan.
I will say, you want to know my intrusive thought about this?
I don't know if I do.
It's not that bad. Now it's overhyped.
Okay.
If the Jets were 9-3 right now, this doc would be incredibly compelling and amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he was good, if he was playing really well.
He was like an MVP candidate.
Yeah. Or even not even that. Like if the Jets were 9-3 and he was just like playing, if he's just having like a Justin Herbert level season, like playing really smart, winning games, game managing, and the Jets were 9-3, I feel like this doc would be a massive hit and people would completely be back in on Rodgers and all of his bullshit.
I do think he had that opportunity this year.
Totally.
And squandered it.
Is it his fault completely? Have we decided that?
The guy who got everyone fired and asked for every single person he wanted and got them all.
I mean, when you put it like that, yeah.
There's never been a player in the history of the NFL who had more control over every aspect of a season than Aaron Rodgers did this year. It's never happened. Including Brady.
I still think we're going to look back. My favorite thing to look back on already is that the Jets fired Saleh when they were 2-3.
They fired Saleh when they had given up 2 touchdowns in the previous 3 weeks, and then they have had the worst defense in the NFL by some measures since then.
I think like in my head, they were 1-4. And I'll be like, okay, maybe 0-5. There was 2-3.
2-3. And don't forget, when they lost to that Vikings game, Rodgers threw a pick 6 in that game. They gave up 1 touchdown in that game.
The 5 games with Saleh, they lost to the Niners in week 1 when the Niners were not a disaster. They then beat the Titans and the Pats. They were 2-1. They lost to the Broncos by 1 point, 9-10. And then they lost at the Minnesota Vikings, the best defense in the league, by 6. And then they fired.
In retrospect, that's like a fine start.
They lost to the Vikings by 6 in a game where Rodgers threw a pick 6, which, again, is a pick 7. Like, if Rodgers didn't throw that, they win the game.
He had 3 picks in that game. That was a close game.
Yes.
He had a chance at the end. Yeah.
They fired the anyway.
Did losing to the Broncos feel like a bad loss early on in the season? I feel like
it felt worse than it does
now. They're like 8-5.
Yeah. So they lost to 2 playoff teams and the Niners when they were healthy.
That's interesting.
Whoops. And also the most underrated part of the whole season is that Robert Saleh joined the Packers coaching staff. And we'll see what happens on Thursday Night Football, but like if the Packers make the Super Bowl, it's like Robert Saleh is like going to help that team a lot. So
I can't wait to watch the doc. I'm going to try to watch it inside of a sensory deprivation tank.
Yeah.
Just to kind of channel Rodgers.
All right, next game. Late slate. DK, this is we probably should have made this game of the year, to be honest, but late slate. Seahawks are at the Cardinals this week. Seahawks are 7-5. Cardinals are 6-6. This is like huge for the playoffs, right, DK?
This is massive, yeah.
All these teams, it feels like, I can't remember how many times any of these guys have played. It feels like every week there's an NFC
The Seahawks
West
played
matchup.
the Cardinals like 2 weeks ago, I think. So this is like kind of a back-to-back thing for them. According to Aaron Schatz, per their projections, the Seahawks, if they win, would make them a 62% favorite to go to the playoffs, and the Cardinals would drop down to 17%. And then flip it over. If the Cardinals win, they're 71% for the playoffs.
Wait, they go from 71 to 17.
Yeah. So it's a massive piece of like a game of leverage for both teams. And if Seattle loses, their playoff chances go down to 11%. So they're almost like, this is like almost sort of a do or die game. And so this is, extremely interesting. And I think the weird thing about the Seahawks this year is like at the beginning of the season, we were talking about like their offense is really good. Geno Smith is cooking, DK Metcalf, JSN, all that stuff. And the defense just sucked. And we're like, okay, like, I wonder what's going on there. Is Mike McDonald going to be able to figure this out? And then since week 7, so like basically if you split it to the season into 2 parts, week 7 through 13, the Seahawks defense has gone from 19th in DVOA to 6th. And their offense has gone from 10th to dead last. The Seahawks over the last like 6 or 7 games are the worst defense in the NFL. Sorry, the worst offense in the NFL, which is like shocking to me. But a big part of it is because they just can't run the ball. They fucking suck at running the ball, especially in like high leverage situations, key 3rd and 4th down. They just get absolutely stuffed. It feels like every time. And so I don't know. It's just weird. The Seahawks season is like a tale of 2 seasons. It's like they can't get the offense and the defense good at the same time. Like, can we do that? And then they'd be a really good team. But right now, the offense is really struggling.
Yeah, and also, they've been a little bit banged up. DK Metcalf hasn't been healthy for a month now with that knee injury that was nagging him. He came back in the game, right? Last week, or did he not?
Yeah, he came back.
Yeah. And Ken Walker's been banged up too. I think he's not really practicing this week with his ankle and calf injuries.
Yeah, and their blocking is really terrible. Their offensive line, they've been like switching guys in and out. It's just like it's a mess right now with especially their short yardage stuff. It's just been really, really problematic. And then of course we saw their special teams fiasco last week. That being said, the Seahawks are in first place. If they beat the Cardinals, this is definitely a winnable game for the Seahawks. They might have a good chance of going to the playoffs here. So,
which team do you think is better positioned to actually make a splash in the playoffs, Arizona or Seattle?
Well, I don't know. That's a good question. I think Seahawks defense is playing so well right now.
So is Arizona's.
That's true. they're both kind of they're similar teams in a lot of ways. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm too close. I'm too close to it.
Heifetz, what do you want to see more? I think DK, I think I want to see Kyler Murray in like a real playoff situation more than I do Seattle.
I agree with that. I think the Seahawks have way more talent on defense, but the offensive line's kind of a mess for Seattle. But like Leonard Williams and again, another Giant, the Giants let go for like nothing. But
oh my God, he's playing so well
he's
right now.
He's unbelievable.
Heifetz? Yeah.
He's so good. He's the one who picked six Rodgers to
he
turn the entire
murdered
game
Rodgers
around.
last week.
Dude, on that note, I was like kind of checking around. Defensive player of the year, it's TJ Watt minus 200, who is great, but like having the worst season he's had when he's been healthy. So it's weird he win. And then next is like Xavier McKinney at 17-1.
No one's really having the big sack season. That's why.
Well, it's because I'm kind of like, if TJ Watt gets hurt this week, I'm like, dude, every other DP, like if you want to bet on defensive player of the year, everyone's 17-1 or more. Leonard Williams 35-1. And I'm kind of like looking at like Nick Bonito on the Broncos is like 40-1. I'm like, that dude could lead the league in sacks. He's like 40-1 to win the defensive player of the year on a team that's going to make the playoffs. So I don't know, but I was looking at Leonard Williams for that too. But no, I think you're right though, that I'd rather see sorry, DK. I'd rather see Kyler in the playoffs because, frankly, I got such a bad taste in my mouth the last time I saw him with the body.
Is it like
language.
you want the litmus test? You want to see how he does in the playoffs kind of deal?
Yeah, and to tell you the truth, I've seen too much of the Seahawks in the playoffs. It's so ugly. It's so brutal. Like, I just think about the Seahawks-Cowboys games. Like, they're so muck. Like, I'd rather just see James Conner with the ball and Kyler. And, like, sorry, I know those Seahawks fans right now are mad, but
that's fine. I am curious, like, who you'd rather watch. Yeah. Seahawks game is the big thing is it's always just actually a miserable experience watching their games, even when they win. Maybe especially when they win.
I'm just ready for us to have like new fodder for Kyler Murray in the same way I feel about Justin Herbert. I just want more evidence that we can actually talk about with these two guys who are constantly being projected. Although I feel much stronger about Herbert than I do Kyler. Next
game's the Buffalo Bills 10-2, or at the LA Rams 6-6. Bills are giving 5 points. I want to shout out Jared Verse, who is the defensive end for the Rams, the rookie, who we did not end up giving to a team on our draft this week. We redrafted. It's a fun episode if you want to listen to it. We redrafted on Wednesday, the 2024 draft. We probably should have given Jared Verse to a team.
We thought about it. We debated it.
We talked about it. But I want to just shout out Jared Verse has more quarterback pressures this season than Myles Garrett. How about that?
Wow.
Jared Verse is third in the NFL in pressures of the quarterback this season as a rookie. And I keep thinking, I think that, you know how you have like a mental contact photo for someone in your head when you think of them? My mental contact photo for Jared Verse, when I picture it, is him lifting Jordan Mailata, the massive left tackle for the Eagles on Sunday Night Football, like lifting him up like he was like in a movie and just like planting him on the ground and then just running at Hurts. Like Jared Verse, a rookie in the NFL, picked up one of the largest players in the entire league and dropped him.
I think more so than a big hit. I think when you can pick somebody up and kind of slam them back down, that is the strongest sign of like strength. Cooper DeJean did that last week with Derrick Henry, picked him up.
Yes.
And placed him on his fucking back on the ground.
That was the best tackle I've ever seen. That was really like that's literally how you're supposed to tackle. That's what it's like. That's what coaches think it looks like.
The audacity to do that to Derrick Henry.
Jordan Mailata, the guy I'm talking about getting picked up, is 6'8" and 365 pounds.
That's wild. Yeah, Jared Verse he's got like old man strength.
So
he's just pure power.
And then I just am amazed how the Rams actually rebuilt their defensive line after Aaron Donald left. It's incredible because they have Jared Verse. And, they have Byron Young also as another outside linebacker. And, of course, we have to talk about this. Kobie Turner, who is a defensive tackle on the Rams line, left the Masked Singer this week. He was Goo. Goo on the Masked Singer.
Does that mean something to you? How long has Goo been around on the show?
I don't know. I don't watch The Masked Singer, but I just couldn't believe that Kobie Turner was the Masked Singer.
So this, Heifetz, when you sent this to us, like there's a really famous tweet that says, "I'm 50, all celebrity news looks just like this." And it's curtains for Zuzka, K-Smog, and Batboy caught flipping a grunt. And I was like, I have no fucking idea what you're talking about. I don't watch The Masked Singer.
Baby Gronk rizzed up Livy Dunn.
I don't know who fucking Goo is. K-Smog and Batboy caught flipping a grunt.
You know what's funny is like that's gibberish, but I'm like, I feel like I get that. I know what that means.
Caught flipping a grunt. And it was in response to an SB Nation tweet that was like, is Baby Gronk the new drip king, or is he just getting rizzed up by Livy?
Yeah.
I hate everything. Yeah.
I got to say, Kobie Turner sounded pretty good. I was impressed. And he had a very heartfelt tweet about how that show allowed him to like open up and be who he really wants to be.
Yeah, he said, I was Goo on Masked Singers. I was Goo. Goo team, you will forever have a special place in my heart.
What are we talking about?
He did tweet, limits to Goo. To Goo, you helped me be the authentic, true version of myself that I've been longing to be. All the goofiness and fun, the realness and vulnerability. Every gift, a semicolon in a tweet. Wow. Every gift you gave me, I will cherish forever. And because of you, I'm fighting harder to be the truest version of myself every day. Another semicolon. To be all of who I am and to embrace that fully.
What kind of singer is he? Is it like pop music, gospel?
No,
rap?
I already forget the song he sang. It was like a Train song or something, or like Maroon 5. It was like a very normal pop song.
Train? I would not have guessed Train.
Who was it? I forget. It was like one of those songs. It's like,
okay.
Wait, no, the master, he did.
Should I Google what did Goo sing?
No, I texted.
What did Goo sing?
Oh God,
the mask. So he's saying,
what did he sing?
Iris by Goo Goo Dolls.
Yeah,
it was I don't want the world.
Is that where he got the name? Okay.
Don't want the world to change. It might as well be a Train song.
I know, that's actually same genre. The algorithm in your head is working.
Yeah.
The Masked Singer is so weird.
To see me.
I mean, it's actually very representative of his actual thoughts. I feel like
there you go. It's like meta. Yeah.
Don't think that they'd understand.
Goo Goo Dolls. I really did just Google what did Goo sing.
I mean, Goo sang a song from the Goo Goo Dolls. I don't know how Masked Singer works, by the way. Why did he have to take his mask off? How does that work?
Because he got voted off the island. I don't know. The Masked Singer, I thought that was who. If anyone or your parents love the Masked Singer, please email us at Ringer Fantasy.
I bet you we're going to get a lot. I think a lot of people watch the Masked Singer. I think it's very popular.
Would you
among a certain crowd?
Is it your thing, Craig? Would you like to watch it, or do you just like not have enough time, or does it like not appeal to you?
Politely, it does not appeal to me in any way.
Do you know that meme of the guy? You know that meme of the old guy doing the interview?
Politely,
with all due respect,
I'd rather shove a fucking screwdriver into my ear.
With that said, I'll absolutely demolish a 45-second clip of the Masked Singer.
There you go.
Give me the best 45 every week. I'll watch that.
Who are the judges?
Oh, Ken Jeong.
And
Jenny McCarthy and Robin Thicke.
Jenny McCarthy.
Yeah, she's still kicking.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
She was big time when I was like in high school.
There's a weird world of like when you're the celebrity host of a game show that has like 30 million people watching every week and you make a lot of money, but you're also not famous at all. Like Jenny McCarthy's in such a weird spot where she's probably making a ton of money, but like, does anyone have a thought or care about Jenny McCarthy? It's weird.
Yeah.
I was thinking
it's a
about
great
that.
Gig, honestly.
I was watching like the Great British Baking Show holiday specials, which I love. The Dairy Girls episode of that is like my favorite episode of TV I've ever seen in my entire life. But the new one this year, it was like Rob Riggle was like the celebrity on the Great British Baking Show.
Yeah.
And I was like, what a wonderful level of celebrity where you could just like be on the Great British Baking Show, but also like, what's Rob Riggle? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. No offense to Rob Riggle, but I'm kind of like,
how could you to say
like
that
just when you become
Rob
a professional guest, that level of celebrity, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just do the guest circuit. That's what I want to get on eventually.
He does a lot
that's
of
our
like,
dream.
Doesn't he do a lot of like Rams? He'll like introduce the Rams.
Yeah, he does like pregame show, like
he's on the Fox pregame
vignettes. And
yeah,
like
he always pops
stuff.
up. You know, he did a lot of those. Catalina Wine Mixer, he's there. You know,
yeah.
Pow, pow. Nick Cannon, I believe. Nick Cannon hosted the Masked Singer, right?
Was he? I don't know what's up with that guy.
Nick Cannon is out here cooking in his career and in other areas.
Cooking up the batter. Yeah.
Oh my God, DK, it's vile. Jesus.
There's
not that bad. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, Tyreek Hill just had his 10th kid. Did you see that?
I did not.
Yeah. I watched Selling Sunset.
Wait, are you telling me that ridiculous stat is true again?
What?
that he's a kid every 800 yards? That's true again. Oh my God.
He's 30, I think, right? 10 kids.
Did you guys ever watch Wild and Out?
I loved Wild and Out. Mikey
I thought
Day.
it was very enjoyable show to watch.
I love Wild and Out.
Nick Cannon has made such a career out of just hosting, popular music shows and game shows that he's probably worth a ton of money. He's in
the
that
hosts
Jeff
from that
Probst
era were like Nick Cannon and Joe Rogan. There was something there cooking there. And Ryan Seacrest. I wouldn't have your money on Ryan Seacrest being the guy who disappeared.
I imagine how much money Jeff Probst has. He's been doing Survivor for 25 years. That's all he does. He works 2 months a year.
Oh, he has to go to
that
Fiji.
sounds amazing.
And he doesn't have to do
and he
any
probably
of this
stays
stuff.
in an incredible hotel for a month, twice a year.
Oh my God.
And he probably makes, I don't know, $10, $15 million a year.
Oh my
It's unbelievable. And I love Probst. He does a great job. But man, not bad.
We're not hating on it. We're just insanely jealous.
Pat Sajak?
Oh,
Come on.
God.
Can I see an E?
They tape one
$20 million.
And then he makes Vanna White actually go do it.
He makes Vanna White do it. It's like
She's
Office
doing the
Space,
work.
and it's like, so you take the reports over. It's like, oh, well, my assistant does
my
that.
assistant does it.
So do you spin the wheel? No, I don't do that either.
Yeah, this is again. I want to get back to, and we don't have to do it right now, but like the most specific jobs in the world,
Wheel
where
of
it's like
Fortune.
only one person doing this job.
Wheel of Fortune is up there.
That
man.
guy who changes the light bulbs at the top of the radio towers, he changes like one light bulb, like the mountain climber.
You have to like hook the thing on and like climb up.
That was great.
At least Probst is going to at least take a flight to Fiji. I mean, Pat Sajak probably lives in the valley and drives 10 minutes to Burbank.
Gets his valet to bring him over every day. He
all
doesn't
those
even
episodes.
drive.
They record all those episodes in one day. So it's on
he
Monday.
does like 6 in a day.
Just changing the top part of his suit.
It's
Doesn't even have to
clip-on
get up.
ties, probably. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's the dream right there.
That's off to him.
Oh my God.
He admitted that he and Vanna White used to go like drink margaritas and then tape after.
Honestly, it makes it probably more entertaining.
Yeah.
That's also Vanna White just has a different dress every episode.
Yeah, I know.
So she just has all those dresses.
I think people should stop trying to be actors in Hollywood and they should actually just try to be game show hosts because that's
the real gravy
pure
train.
bliss.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
That's the dream. Do you think we could be Vanna White?
Like the secret, like the actual, it's not who's the next Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, the next Ethan Hunt. It's who's the next Probst. That's the job you want.
Oh my God. Work 6 at, Email us at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com if there's other like Pat Sajak people out there with just like the dream. Jeff Probst, the other just like dream.
Earning the most, doing the least.
Yeah. Send us emails at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com.
I don't mean to disparage them. I actually like genuinely love Jeff Probst.
As DK said twice, it's insane jealousy.
Yeah.
Right. It's just like I want to get into a position where I have to work 2 months a year and make several dozen $1 million a year.
And the work is as in the Ritz-Carlton in Fiji.
Probst seems like Harbaugh out there. Like he loves it. He loves getting in the mix, being out there watching the competitions. He's fired up.
Some people just never retire, right? They just love working 2 months a year.
Probst is like early 60s.
All right. Bears are playing the Niners.
We are. This is like this is the prototypical week 14 preview. We're 13 weeks into this thing.
This is the can we turn the vibes around bowl.
Yeah, Niners are blown out by the Bills in the snow game last week. Christian McCaffrey is on injured reserve, and then Jordan Mason went to injured reserve. And so they have Isaac Guerrero, who is the rookie running back, who I actually think you can play him this week. I have him right near DeAndre Swift. Like, I actually think you can play him. And by the standard of their 6 teams on bye, perfectly fine. Throw him in if you got him, like, go play him. Like, you might as well. So, but yeah, the Niners, it's weird because obviously, it's tough with the losing to the Bills last week. And then you have the Bears who just, the first game without Matt Eberflus. So,
the Bears, the head coach bump again. We already got the offensive coordinator bump.
I mean, if you think the Niners season's tough now, imagine if the Niners lose this game. Tom Brown.
It never sounds right to me. I'm like, is that the right? That's not.
I gotta say, his presser kind of fired me up a little bit.
He says he lost 23 pounds just since he became the OC, or something like that, because he's like
stress.
He's just so busy he doesn't have time to eat.
See, that Pat Sajak could never.
Right.
I don't love that. Also, I'm not sure I buy it. But what do you mean you don't have time to eat?
Maybe it's just stressed.
Somebody bring him a smoothie.
He says he like forgets to eat.
Yeah. Okay.
He has a has.
I didn't actually. This is like a classic thing. I didn't actually hear this interview. I just saw someone tweeting about it, so that could be completely made up.
Have I ever told you guys
this is a baby Gronk rizzed up Tommy Brown?
We haven't had enough tangents. So you know what always blew my mind? The craziest thing I learned about maybe the whole NFL this or a couple of years ago. This is like not small, but coordinators don't have assistants, which blew my mind. Because in college, like, you know, there's a lot of coordination to be done. But like the NFL, like how many jobs in America are like an offensive or defensive coordinator where you might be paid a salary of $2 million, but you do not have a personal assistant? There cannot be that many jobs.
They don't have any, they don't like quality control coaches and stuff are bringing them stuff.
Yes, but like there's no one helping them like schedule meetings when they, like I talked to a coordinator once who had to like interview for like a linebackers coach job or whatever. Didn't have an assistant, like just doing all the scheduling on like Outlook or Teams or whatever themselves. And I just, NFL teams are cheap in the funniest ways. Like, I don't know. It's incredible to
They're
think
like trying to figure out the Google Calendar app. Like,
but it's like he probably doesn't have an assistant.
This one says I'm supposed to be meeting. I'm trying to like set a meeting with you, but it says you're busy. I should be probably like writing down plays right now.
What's the salary threshold you think for an assistant? Let's say in like a major city.
Salary, like for what to hire
How
them
much
for an
do
NFL
you need
team?
to make in your not just in the NFL, just in general? How much would somebody need to make living in New York, LA, San Francisco, Chicago, wherever, where you'd be like, yeah, they should probably have an assistant?
I don't know what the low number is, but I would imagine that if someone makes $1 million
millions
salary,
of dollars, you need an assistant.
They would have an assistant. Like it's just at that point, like you're paying that person so much money. Why would you have them do like assistants? Like yeah. Like for example, if a head coach needs to eat something, like I don't know, he's the head coach of your $2 billion.
Does Jeff Probst, does he have an assistant?
Definitely. He probably has two.
It's like, I'm not coming back for season 51 unless I get 3 extra people.
Some celebrities have like entire teams of assistants.
Yeah.
Like Spielberg has like
an entourage, if you will.
Spielberg has like 3 personal assistants and then 3 professional assistants.
Wait, the personal assistants are like going grocery shopping?
Yeah, like they manage his personal life more. And then there's the professional side.
Oh, God, that would be amazing. This is like what you always hear, how the more money you get, like the most valuable thing in your life is time. Mm-hmm. And then you like, you know, basically spend money to like just get more time to do what you want to do.
But one of my favorite sayings of all time is that when you're young, you have time and energy, but no money. When you're middle-aged, you have money and energy, but no time. And when you're old, you have time and money, but no energy.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like you're a time billion. This is the corniest 5 a.m. CEO guy. Like, oh, I get up at 5. The corniest thing that I like is that you're a billionaire. You're a time billionaire. Because if you're like 30, then you still have like you have a couple billion seconds left in your life. And like most billionaires, like as much as I would like $5 billion, but Stephen Ross or whatever NFL owner billionaire that's like 85, they'd give away the money to be your age. Yeah. And so like they'd rather have the 2 billion seconds than the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like that's the corniest thing.
I don't feel as rich as that guy thinks I am.
I don't feel that rich for that. It doesn't help. But did you guys see Woj? So obviously Woj retired from ESPN and like that was crazy.
He's like the GM of St. Bonaventure, right?
Yeah, so he this came out a couple hours ago. He has cancer. He has pancreatic cancer.
Oh, I didn't see that.
He decided to retire. I'm going to read this from the New York Post because I couldn't believe that this blew my mind. I'm just quoting the New York Post. Wojnarowski took notice of how many associated with ESPN did not travel to Arkansas for a memorial for Chris Mortensen, a longtime NFL insider for the network who died from throat cancer in March. And Wojnarowski, quote, "It made me remember that the job is not everything. In the end, it's just going to be your family and close friends. And it's also like, nobody gives a shit. Nobody remembers breaking stories in the end. It's just vapor." End quote.
Wow.
How serious is his cancer diagnosis?
I saw him tweeting today that they found it early on. So he's encouraged.
He said it's limited in scope is what he said.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I hope he's all right.
Yeah.
But all those things being said, yes, it is a reminder that like the most important thing is like your health and your family and everything.
And whether Noah Gray will outscore Juwan.
Right. Whether we put Noah Gray in my flex spot.
Should you start Debo? I don't know. He's been bad.
Dude, he's been bad. I don't think he's healthy, you know.
Actually, though, in this game, would you start Debo Samuel?
I mean, it depends. We have him relatively low. I mean,
seamless.
That's yes. Gotta make money off this.
Actually, though,
the last 3 weeks, Debo has scored 6, 3, and 4.
Dude, he's not healthy. Like
probably not.
Yeah.
Like, would you start? Like, how low are we going here? You starting Keon Coleman over him?
We have Debo pretty low, man. No, Keon Coleman. I'm not putting my.
Well, we don't know for sure
Keon
if he's
Coleman.
even playing.
Yeah. I mean, Brian Thomas. I put Brian Thomas over Debo at this point.
Yeah,
even with Mac Jones. The Niners' offense is broken, not because everyone's hurt. Also, while we're on all the serious shit, Trent Williams has missed a couple games, and he's the best offensive lineman in the league, and he totally changes their offense when he's gone. While we're on all this real stuff, Trent Williams, he's listed with an ankle injury, but his wife posted on Instagram, he actually lost a newborn kid around Thanksgiving, and so obviously we don't know when he'll be back. But yeah, just another reminder, like to doing real life stuff like everyone else. So.
This has been, I think, one of the most chaotic episodes we have ever taped.
Yeah, I don't know what we're doing right now.
Do you want to get back to Jeff Probst?
The Sunday No Context Fantasy Football Twitter account. That guy has so many things to choose from.
I think he has to do
like 6 tweets.
Yeah, he's gonna have to have a thread. Sunday Night Football, and then some porn star can reply with like, "My head's better." Sunday Night Football. The Chargers are at the Chiefs. This is fun. Like Herbert versus Mahomes is just like, I know we were talking about how this is a great week. Herbert versus Mahomes is special. Like these guys are at a level of quarterback that is unbelievable. The Chiefs are at 18-3 in their last 21 games versus the Chargers. 18-3. And yet,
wow.
Chiefs are almost should have lost to the Raiders. Like 6 of the Chiefs wins this year on the last play of the game or the second last play of the game. Like, so.
Yeah. They are just like the team of destiny this year.
I think this is quietly a very big game for the Chargers. I think if they win this game, they will be seen as a serious contender and people will take them seriously and Herbert will make a very mini leap. And if they lose this game, it's going to be like they're a wild card team that, maybe is a couple years away once again.
I think the Chargers, it's the latter. And I think it's because they still have the remnants of this Brandon Staley build with basically we're not going to be run on and what other teams would call soft or other words. And then Harbaugh wants to be a physical team. But the reality is like when I know the Chargers beat the Falcons. I don't care. Kirk Cousins played so bad in that game. I don't give the Chargers defense much credit. The Chargers were kind of bullied off the field by the Ravens in that Monday Night Football game. And frankly, the Ravens put heavy personnel on the field and the Chargers can't match it. Like the Chargers are the most like defensive back personnel team in the league. Like they're playing like 6 DBs on the field at the same time, like all the time. Denzel Perryman's hurt, like Khalil Mack's banged up. Like the front 7 guys front 6 guys, front 5 sometimes are like banged up, and they're playing DBs because they don't have the roster to have a bunch of linebackers and stuff. So the Ravens just put all these tight ends and Patrick Ricard and fullbacks on the field and just block the shit out of them. You know who plays the most tight ends in the NFL? The Chiefs. The Chiefs play multiple tight ends more than half the time. The Chiefs are the only team in the NFL with more than 400 snaps of multiple tight ends on the field. So I think the Chiefs are going to get on and actually, it's not about Mahomes. It's like they're going to kind of body him off the field, and Mahomes is going to be like this epic version of Alex Smith, game manager.
He's going to be handing off that ball.
Yeah, they're going to try to run him off the field. So we'll see.
Yeah, this is an interesting game. I didn't realize this, but the Chargers have the best scoring defense in the NFL. They're only allowing 15.7 points per game. Incidentally, I saw this from NFL Pro. Patrick Mahomes is 20-3 in his career, including playoffs against top 5 scoring defenses. So
with him, you can, any stat.
Yeah,
I know, but I think that's just always the quintessential stat. Like, he's 10-0 when they've been down 10 points in the playoffs.
The stat that I thought was fake was that he undefeated down 10 points in the fourth quarter is quietly on the short list of the craziest football statistics of all time.
I made that up. Is that real? It's something
you
like
incepted
that.
It.
It's something like that.
Not just playoffs, regular season. I think he did lose this season with it, but like.
No, it's not 10 points in the fourth. It's 10 points exactly at any moment in the game.
No, I think it's 10 points in the second. Oh, we should look this up.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. He's the guy that you can't beat. He's the Terminator.
If the Chiefs win the Super Bowl this year, then he's going to be the Michael Jordan for us. He was down. He was 12-0 when down exactly 10 points in a game.
Yeah, damn, 12,
which is so stupid. That's.
So here, this is kind of along those lines though. Like I when I picture the Chiefs this year offensively, I'm like, everything just feels hard. It just doesn't feel like it's working smoothly. Like they have to try really hard for everything. And then I went and looked up some of the stats, and I'm like, it's not as bad as it feels. It just feels so different that I don't. It feels like they suck, even though they're like basically top 10, top 12 in most important stats through 13 weeks, 11th in points per game, 9th in points per drive, 9th in offensive DVOA. They have 19 passing touchdowns, which is 9th. They have 11th rushing touchdowns, 15th. They average the third best yards to go on third down, so the third shortest, and they're best in the NFL on third down conversion rate. So despite what feels like a massive struggle offensively, they're still like a top 10 offense.
Well, they're the Eagles last year where they keep winning, but everyone's depressed. And like,
Right,
like the Chiefs
right.
are just like really like in a bad mood, but they're like, they have one loss. But I do think that they're the slowest team I've seen in a long time because they're like,
Yeah.
they're like the average, their average.
Which is
on
ironic
average,
since they just drafted Xavier Worthy.
well, it's the head in the freezer and the feet on the stove and your room temperature because they have Xavier Worthy, fastest guy ever. And then everyone else is like DeAndre Hopkins, who's glacial, Juju Smith-Schuster, who's glacial, like Kareem Hunt, who's glacial. And then you have Isaiah Pacheco, who broke his leg 2 months ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just a slow team. Kelsey, anyway. All right. Monday Night Football, Bengals are at the Cowboys. Dude, this is two of the most disappointing teams in the NFL. They actually wanted to make this like the first, like they were going to flex this out of Monday Night Football, and they could not because there's a Simpsons simul broadcast on Disney Plus, and they put too much work into doing the Simpsons graphics ahead of time, and they could not change the teams.
It's awesome. Mina's a Simpsons character in this.
Yeah, Mina Kimes is
fun.
the
That'd be
Simpsons
cool.
announcer on Disney Plus, so that will be probably significantly more fun.
Also, there's going to be a
Cowboys.
lot of fantasy playoff implications in this game. Look, this Jamar Chase, Higgins, Burrow, CeeDee Lamb. I think, this is like ideally kind of like an ugly garbage time shootout-y type game.
Yeah.
If the Cooper Rush can shoot. I mean, this is the battle. The Bengals have the record for the most losses in a season when having 33 points. And then the Cowboys had that streak they just broke of 6 consecutive home games down 20 points at some point.
Yeah.
So
Who do you
see
like,
who
Cincy in
prevails.
this?
Yeah, I mean,
how could you
I
not?
like Cincy in every game this year, and they're 4-8.
Their defenses are terrible, but it's Burrow versus Cooper Rush.
Yeah.
It's like
Good
the
call.
defenses
Good
are
point.
equally pathetic.
I'm still waiting for the Bengals to like rattle off 4 straight and
Get back into it.
Go out with the fight. Yeah. So are they.
What do we decide is the Costanza of the week?
I think it's Kirk versus the Vikings because you look at, I mean, I guess the line moves, that's cheating, but
the
Vikings
lines.
giving
I know
6.
the line's pretty.
Now it's Vikings giving 6. I guess everyone agreed with us that was a bad line.
Is it Cleveland winning again in Pittsburgh after the Jameis collapse?
I don't think that feels that wild though, especially
Giving
considering
7?
they just beat them like a couple weeks ago.
The reason we
I
lost
just feel
our
like
plot,
everyone's going to be like, Jameis just threw 2 horrific pick sixes.
No,
The Steelers aren't going to lose twice.
the reason we lost the plot with the Costanza is because we stopped looking at it in terms of the line. The Costanza is not a team. The Costanza is when you look at a bet and you're like, we're going to bet this and we're going to win. That's when it's a Costanza. Like when you look at the line and you're like, oh, if we're going to put a lot of money in this and we're going to win it. That's when you
take the opposite.
When you're like, how could we possibly lose with the spread?
There's honestly not a lot of them. I agree. I think Minnesota is still piquing my interest there. I'd probably feel pretty good that Minnesota's going to win that game.
Yeah. I think the only other one would be the Eagles over the Panthers. The Bryce Young vibes.
No,
Through the
because
roof.
that's like
It's
you look
such
at
a heavy
that, though,
favorite. You're not like, oh, we're going to win money on this.
Yeah, you're not like you won't be shocked. What's the spread on that? Like 10?
12.5.
Yeah, you're not going to be shocked if the Panthers lose by 10. You're not going to be like, how did I lose? All right, maybe there's no
Giants?
Costanza.
Giants?
How dare you?
Over the Saints?
How dare you?
Can it be a Costanza if no one cares?
Yeah, no, I don't think if no one cares, it's not. Yeah.
Does a tree fall
Oh, I
in the
got it.
woods? Can you hear it? Or
Honestly,
whatever? Does it make a sound?
the Costanza was goo going on in the Masked Singer. Really thought he was going to go all the way.
You want to take the Rams then for goo?
Yeah, Rams for goo.
Rams against the Bills. Bills coming off
Love
big
that.
win.
Kind of like
Yeah.
that, actually.
Rams
Yeah.
for goo. We'll just put goo on the. Yeah, we'll put it on
Honestly,
the Instagram
to be honest,
graphic.
when I see this, I'm like, dude, the Bills are only minus 3.5. How is that possible? Perfect
I know.
Costanza.
It's 5 now.
What? It is?
Is it not? Oh no, it was started at 5. Did it move to 3.5?
Too many people are.
I see 3.5 right now.
Oh yeah. All right. Yeah, that's a good Costanza.
I know,
All right.
because to be honest, looking at that, I'm like, man, I should really take the Bills minus 3.5, which
Yeah,
means
that's. Yep.
I take the
Costanza. All right. Rams are the Costanza. Shout out Goo. Thank you everyone for listening. Email us about Pat Sajak and other Pat Sajak, Jeff Probst jobs where you're like, damn, I wish I had that job. Thank you for listening. If you have, again, I know there's going to be a ton of start sit questions for this week. We have our rankings that'll be updated Sunday at fantasyfootball.theringer.com, and we'll do Q&As on Twitter, and hopefully none of the porn stars reply, but like we'll reply to the start sit questions.
You want a couple of them to reply, you sicko.
Yeah, I guess that helps the engagement. That gets visibility to everyone who needs help. Right. That's and also they might have thoughts on who you should start or sit.
There is a weird porn star fantasy football universe that exists.
Mm-hmm.
Is there?
Yeah.
You want to elaborate?
I believe Lisa Ann is a big fantasy football player.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one other.
Well, now don't plug the names because I feel like we're going to lose some market share here.
We don't want to send people away.
Yeah. Bleep the name. We don't want people to know.
We got to really like change our video strategy then to compete.
Thank you, DK. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Carlos, for producing this episode. Thank you, Kai. Thank you, Austin. Thank you, everyone, for help. Thank you for emailing to ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com. Good luck in the playoffs. Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, 21 Pilots. Super random.
I don't know how I feel about them because when their songs come on the radio, I sing along to them. Also, I don't listen to the radio. But when I hear a song
you just made that up.
Of theirs in a Target, I sing along to it. But I would never put it on.
Yeah. I think that's exactly where I am too, Craig. I'm like, I wouldn't say this was an endorsement, but like their songs are catchy.
Yeah.
And when you hear them, you're like singing. You sing along, and then you get them stuck in your head. They're a little earbuds.
Remind me
Wish we could turn back time to the good old days. Yeah, it's like that song is just catchy and works.
Yeah.
They're honestly like the Meghan Trainor of rock, where I'm like, I would never put on a Meghan Trainor song, but when I hear like all about that bass, I'm like, I'll sing it.
Well, that's crazy. That was my main takeaway from like doing this 1 second.
I don't care who sees me.
But my takeaway from the 1 second song challenge and just like everyone emailing them is I can't believe how many songs you can play like 1 second of, and you're like, oh yeah. Like it just goes. Like it's crazy how much real estate in your brain is just music.
Totally.
Dude,
we should, by the way,
true, yeah.
Next week we'll have to do DK versus Heifetz.
Oh yeah, didn't we already get DK versus Heifetz this week? Might as well.
I don't think I want to do that.
I just really want to curate.
I think the idea is to have fun.
I think I will curate the perfect list where everyone will be satisfied.
There's no world DK has fun. Even if he wins, he's going to be annoyed he had to do it. DK's going to kick my ass if we're being honest. DK's got.
I'm going to try to be fair in my selection of songs. Not that DK was unfair, but
you don't think The Hills by The Weeknd has an iconic first second?
After the show, I'll say for the record, I wasn't aware I was supposed to just lob up softballs for you guys for every single song.
I think the point is that like
that it was too hard.
We can't do it. We just can't do this.
You
right
get
now.
the first second of a song.
Drop it.
Any song, it's an accomplishment.
You brought it up.
Good.
What?
The first second, getting any song, the first second of a song. It's 1 second. It's an accomplishment. It feels good. It doesn't matter if it's ABC by Michael Jackson. Like the first second of a song, it's still 1 second, and you got the song.
Also, the Hills, as the Ringer Fantasy Football meme guy said, was a fucking layup. It's very recognizable.
Please.
It's a very, very famous, not very old song. So cry about it. Cry more.
Meme guy rizzes up Hills by Weekend.
With a grunt.
But can we actually do it next week? Can you allow me to be the judge? I really want to.
Sure.
Nice.
I think I might be sick that day. We can have Kai. We can have Kai play Heifetz.
No.
How about that? I'm gonna be like the boxer who just ducks an opponent, but in this case they're just because they're too annoying.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Sure.
Goodbye, everyone.